So, for context, my husband and I, both 31, have been together for the past 3 years, married for 1.5 years, and recently we found out that we are expecting our first child. A couple of days ago, I had my baby shower, and things didn't really go as smoothly as we expected them to. And that was all thanks to my mother in law, Sarah. She invited my ex to the baby shower, and apparently that was her idea of a hilarious prank, even though she knew exactly what had happened. My ex, let's call him Jacob, and I did not have a mutual breakup. I dumped him because he had been cheating on me with one of my friends, and it hadn't even been the first time. I was with him from the age of 20 to 25. And I think those 5 years were the most difficult ones for me. He was incredibly manipulative and he used to flirt with a lot of girls, but he was always insecure about me talking to anybody else. So he used to isolate me as well. He never cared about my feelings, and I had caught him cheating on me several times, but somehow he always guilt tripped me into getting back together with him and forgiving him. I was 2 years younger than him, and I was really stupid and naive. So I guess that was a huge part of the reason why I couldn't extract myself from that situation. For 5 years, we were in a relationship. It was an on and off relationship, but I always ended up back with him. Anyway, I think when I finally did end up breaking up with him, I had made up my mind that I couldn't take this anymore. And I wanted to move forward with my life. So after that, I had pretty much cut him out of my life altogether, and he tried really hard to get back with me even then. He tried to talk to my family, my friends, literally everyone who knew me. But I had told everyone that I did not want anything to do with him, so they didn't tell him anything about what I was up to. I had to change my phone number, my email address, and block him everywhere. And I even moved away from my old apartment to a new one. I had even gone to the extent of quitting my old job and switching to a new one just so that he wouldn't be able to have any sort of access to me. So, yeah, I completely erased him from my life. And it took me years to get over him completely, along with a lot of therapy. And then I finally met my husband, maybe 3 years after my final breakup with my ex. Since then, I've been pretty happy with my life, and I really don't think I could have asked for a better man. He is everything that my ex was not, and I'm really happy with him. Our families also get along well enough, with the exception of my mother-in-law, of course. Sarah wanted my husband to marry one of my friend's daughters, but that didn't end up happening, and she's never been very happy about it. I always had the feeling that she didn't like me much, but I never thought that she would go to this extent. Everyone in my husband's family knows about Jacob, unfortunately, because of something that happened a couple of weeks before my wedding. I don't want to get into the details or anything, but basically, after I announced my engagement on social media, I guess somehow that news made its way to Jacob. I'm guessing that he had some help from acquaintances, but he managed to find my husband's social media accounts, and not just his, but everybody from his family. Then he sent them all a message talking about our relationship, saying that he knew that I was upset with him, so I wouldn't call off the wedding. And I was probably only doing all of this to punish him and make him jealous. And I was probably only doing all of this to punish him and make him jealous. And that he needed their help. He wanted my husband and his family to call off the wedding so I could come back to him. Everyone and his family received this message, and it was obviously very embarrassing and humiliating for me because I had to explain the whole situation to them. Before that, it was obviously something that only my husband and I knew about. But because of his message, I had to tell everyone about Jacob, and I had to tell people that he was still somehow not over me, even though he was the one who had been cheating on me repeatedly. But people seemed to understand, and they were mostly respectful of it. Everyone has a past, so do I, and unfortunately, my past was a bit unsavory. Since then, people know that Jacob is a sore spot for me. Nobody brings it up, so I have no idea why my mother in law decided to go out of her way to invite him to the baby shower as a prank or whatever. And it wasn't even like she didn't know what she was doing. She invited him to the baby shower. When he showed up, she could see that I was really shocked because I hadn't seen him for years. But Jacob seemed happy enough to see me, and he ignored everyone else and even ignored my own expressions. And he came straight to me after he walked in and started telling me that he was really happy that I had decided to finally call him and make things right again, and that he was ready to raise this child as his own. I obviously had no idea what he was talking about. I was panicking and I was quite anxious to get him away from me. So my husband had to intervene, and he was also pretty upset. But he knew that I was not behind this. And since Sarah was the one who had welcomed him in, he decided to confront her in front of everyone and ask her what this was all about. Then she went on to explain that she was the one who had invited Jacob because she thought that it was about time I forgave him and we fixed things, because after all, I was about to start a new chapter in my life as a mother, and I would need to learn how to forgive if I was to be a good mom. And then she made a really crass comment about how Jacob seemed more than happy to show up, which made her think that maybe it was a good thing that she had invited him, because it was always nice for the real father to be there for the baby. I guess I don't have to explain what she was trying to insinuate by making that comment. Nobody liked that. Nobody laughed at it, and the second she realized that nobody was finding it funny, she started telling people that they had lost their sense of humor. And by then, even Jacob had realized that this was a setup, that I had not actually wanted him there, and I had definitely not instructed my mother-in-law to invite him to the baby shower, and neither did I have any intention of leaving my husband for him. So I was upset. My husband was upset, and the rest of the family was also upset, and even Jacob was upset. After a couple of minutes of awkward silence, I told Sarah that she needed to leave, and she needed to take her guest with her because I had obviously not wanted Jacob at the baby shower, and she had tricked him into attending, so now it was up to her to get him to leave as well. But he didn't have to be told twice, thankfully, I guess. When he realized that he was not welcome here, Jacob said that he was really sorry for assuming that I was ready to come back to him, when that was clearly not the case. He congratulated me, still looking very upset, and then walked out. And then once again, I told Sarah to leave, and she told me that she was not going anywhere and that I needed to get over it because she was just playing a prank on me. It was all a joke, and I shouldn't take it so seriously, because after I have kids, there are going to be a lot of instances when my patience is tested and I need to learn to roll with the punches. But I didn't care. I just kept insisting, and my husband also joined in. He told his mother to leave, and she started trying to fight with us, but thankfully by then, the rest of the family had also gotten over their shock. Everyone looked quite disapproving of everything that had happened. And my siblings-in-law, my husband's older brother and younger sister, both of them started telling their mom to leave, along with me and my husband, insisting that what she had done was incredibly disgusting and wrong. It was obviously quite embarrassing for us, and I was very upset and literally just a couple of minutes away from crying. I guess my father-in-law noticed that, and even though he had been trying to stay out of the limelight, because I'm guessing it was really embarrassing for him as well, eventually He couldn't hold back anymore, and he grabbed Sarah by the arm while she was still protesting and walked out with her. I was obviously very upset even after Sarah left, and I felt humiliated. But thankfully, the rest of the family and even my own friends and family were very helpful and supportive. They pretended like the whole thing had never even happened and tried their best to cheer me up. And I guess in the end, things were fine. But I'm not going to forget what happened anytime soon. Anyway, it's been a couple of days since then, and she has apologized to me. But I'm not ready to accept that kind of apology. I don't want it. I don't want to see her anytime soon. I don't want to be around her. I don't even want her to be around me when I have my baby or even after that. I know it's a pretty strong statement for me to make, but right now I just want to be away from her because I think everyone knows exactly how traumatizing it was for me to be in a relationship with Jacob for those 5 years. She has no idea how much I've had to work on my mental health after him. And without a second thought, she just presented him in front of me without caring about how it would affect me while I was pregnant. She's the single most selfish and uncaring person I've ever met. And I don't want to be around her, and I don't want her apology either. I have spoken to my husband about it, and he thinks that I can take my time, and he has even told me if I don't want to forgive her, that's fine as well, because just because she has apologized doesn't mean she's entitled to be forgiven. And that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure that his siblings also feel the same way. The only thing that I'm actually worried about is that I'm pretty sure I don't want her around when I'm in labor or during the delivery or after the baby is born. But the problem is that this is her grandchild as well. And I know that she's going to kick up a huge fuss about it when she finds out that I don't want her around. And I'm trying to think if I'm being fair to her or not. On one hand, I don't think it matters if I'm being fair or not because she was not fair to me. On the other hand, I also don't want to come off looking like the bad guy here who's taking things to an extreme level. So I'm pretty confused, and I guess I just need a second opinion, truthfully speaking. AITA for not wanting my mother-in-law to be around me or my baby. Update 1. Hey everybody, thank you so much for commenting on my post. So I spoke to my husband about what I was thinking, whatever I was worried about, and he told me that I don't need to worry about how the rest of the family is going to perceive my decision or literally anybody else. He told me that I should just do whatever I think is right, and I don't need to worry about what people are going to think of my decision. Because at the end of the day, nothing is more important to him than my health or the baby's health. And of course, mental health does affect physical health as well, and he doesn't want anything to affect that. He also told me that I don't need to worry about how Sarah will feel because very honestly, she dug this grave for herself. So now she's going to have to lie in it. I guess I didn't really realize how upset he was with his mother because he didn't really talk to me about it at length because he knew that it was quite an upsetting topic for me. However, while we were discussing all of this, I got to see exactly how angry and hurt he felt because of everything that Sarah had done. And I could see that more than me, he was the one who was upset with his mom, and I guess he was very embarrassed about it as well. I don't blame him. If I were in his place, I would probably be quite embarrassed as well. He told me that his mother had no right to do what she did, and even the things that she said were quite humiliating. So there's no way I have to worry about how she's going to feel because clearly she couldn't have cared less about how I was feeling. And at the end of the day, I'm the mom here, so nothing takes priority over me. That was quite comforting to hear because I was getting too worried about how everybody else would feel. Thankfully, I guess my husband knows exactly what's going on with me, and he reassured me that nobody would judge me, especially after witnessing what happened at the baby shower. And he even told me something very interesting, something to do with my father-in-law, who I had assumed didn't want to get involved in any of this. But my husband told me that apparently he had spoken to his father, and his father wanted to apologize to me on his mom's behalf, because he knew that whatever half-baked apology Sarah had sent to me was not going to be enough for me to want to forgive her. And he was right. Sarah had only texted me a paragraph about how she had overstepped, how she felt bad, and that she wanted me to forgive her. It was not even a very heartfelt paragraph or anything, and I could tell that she didn't mean it. She was just doing this as a formality because otherwise the rest of the family probably wouldn't forgive her. She couldn't care less about whether I forgive her or not. And that was pretty evident in the message that she had sent. So it meant a lot to me that my father-in-law had reached out, even though he hadn't reached out to me. But to be fair, he's a very quiet person in general, and he doesn't really believe in texting or calling. He usually speaks to people in person because he couldn't come over at the moment. He didn't think it was appropriate. He decided to pass on the message to me through my husband, and I think that's good enough. And apparently he has also said that Sarah was way out of line, but he would request me not to hold that against him. He said that he knows for a fact that after everything that's happened, I would probably not want Sarah around when I go into labor or during the delivery or even after the baby's born. And he's totally right about that. I guess anyone with a good head on their shoulders would know that this would be my reaction, with the exception of Sarah, of course. Anyway, he has requested me specifically not to hold that against him and to let him bond with his grandchild whenever he's born, because he knows that Sarah was wrong. But he had nothing to do, and he didn't even have any idea what was going on. And he would have stopped it and nipped it in the bud if he had any clue. And even when the old thing was unfolding, he wanted to drag Sarah away. But he had to wait because all eyes were on the situation. And he felt humiliated and awkward himself because, well, he was married to this woman. And I could totally understand what he was getting at. And I won't say that my father-in-law and I have the best relationship, because honestly, he doesn't really talk much. Not just to me, but to anybody else. And we haven't had a chance to interact much in all the years that my husband and I have been together. But I respect him as a person, so I think I'll respect his request as well. I don't have anything against him, and I know for a fact that he doesn't have anything against me, so I'm cool with whatever he has asked for, because at least he's had the good sense to apologize for something that he hasn't even done. And I can respect that, I guess. Update 2. Hey, it's been 2 weeks since the day of the baby shower, and because I haven't replied to her apology, Sarah decided to take it upon herself to turn up at our house. And obviously, I did not let her in. My husband was at work, and since I'm on maternity leave, I am the only one staying at home. But today, thankfully, my mom was with me because I was getting bored, and the two of us were chatting in the living room when she showed up. As soon as I figured out that it was Sarah standing outside, I decided immediately that I was not going to open the door, and that I was not even going to give her the satisfaction of getting a response out of me. So I just stayed in the living room. I continued talking to my mom, and she just kept ringing the doorbell over and over again, banging on the door repeatedly, calling out to me, telling me to open the door, basically ordering me to let her in. But I was not going to let that happen. I had already made up my mind in the beginning itself that I did not want anything to do with this woman. After whatever had happened at the baby shower and her lukewarm apology, I was not interested in hearing anything that she had to say. And weirdly enough, even while she was asking to be let in, it didn't sound like she was sorry for anything. She was really loud and aggressive, and it didn't sound like she was about to build up an apology anytime soon. I was pretty sure that if I had opened the door and let her in, she would have demanded an explanation for my actions, asking me why I wasn't replying to her apology and why I hadn't already forgiven her for everything that had happened. She would probably accuse me of overreacting, so I'm glad that I ended up ignoring her. But then, when a couple of minutes had passed and I still hadn't opened the door and hadn't even bothered to respond to any of her attempts to call out to me, she started slamming her entire body against the door. She's around my mom's age, so she's not that young and is in her mid to late 50s. So that was not an age for her to be doing that. And I got kind of alarmed and I was about to open the door just because I didn't want her to hurt herself. But my mom told me to sit back down. She explained to me that eventually she was not going to have the energy to keep going at it. And even if she did end up hurting herself, it was going to be her own fault. I'm not responsible for her well-being. It's not like I had asked her to throw herself against the door like that. So I don't need to feel responsible for her either. And that made sense. So I sat back down. Within a couple of seconds, she had stopped throwing herself against the door and just started sobbing loudly, saying that I was being horrible to her for no reason, and that she had already apologized to me. So the least I could do was open the door to her instead of being so disrespectful and continue to chat inside while she waited for me. She started playing the victim card, saying that she was just as old as my mom and that she deserved just as much respect as my own mother does. We almost burst out laughing at that point in time, because if she really thought that she deserved that kind of respect, she would have treated me with the kind of love and affection that my own mom does. But she has never done that. She's never accepted me into the family. She's never, ever treated me like her own, even though I've been a part of the family for quite a while now. My husband's siblings are not married yet, so I'm the first daughter-in-law that she has, since my brother-in-law is unmarried, and I thought that that would make me a bit special to her, but it hasn't. If anything, it made her hate me for no reason, because she realized that my husband was a grown man who was capable of making his own decisions and was not going to be her puppet all his life. But whatever. That's been her and her son. I never understood why she hated me for it. In fact, I'm going to be the mother to her first grandchild, and yet that doesn't seem to make a difference to her. She treated me horribly for no reason for quite a while now, so I think it is fair enough for me to treat her the same way now. And I just continued to sit back and relax until she left. It was a bit difficult to ignore her, but after she was gone, I was just glad that I hadn't opened the door to let her in. Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure that the drama would have escalated and things would have turned out pretty ugly, and I wouldn't have wanted that. Anyway, my husband's going to be back in a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to tell him everything that happened today, and we'll discuss how to deal with the situation together after that. Update 3. Hi, so my husband came back from work just a couple of hours ago, and as soon as he was back, my mother and I told him everything that had happened with regards to Sarah and her psychotic behavior, including the part about how she was throwing herself against the door and body slamming it, probably to get me to get up and open the door just to prevent herself from hurting herself. But I didn't do it. And he told me that I had done the right thing because this was clearly a strategy, a tactic to get me to do what she wants, and he was glad that I hadn't fallen for it. He told me that he was going to talk with his father because ultimately he was the only person who was going to be able to talk to Sarah and get some sense into her. His siblings had already tried. He himself had already tried, and there was no point. The only person that Sarah genuinely cares about is her husband. And I guess that's like the one point of commonality between the two of us. Anyway, my husband and I called up my father-in-law and told him everything that had happened today. And he said that he was going to talk to Sarah and get her to back off for a while. And this time, while we were speaking on the call, he also told me whatever he had mentioned to my husband earlier. He apologized to me for everything, even though it was not his fault. I accepted it. I told him that he didn't even need to apologize, but it was really sweet of him to be trying. He also confided in us that he and Sarah have been having a lot of trouble ever since the baby shower because he insists that she took it too far and that she should apologize to me more sincerely. But she doesn't think that's as necessary. And like I said in the previous update, she thinks that I'm overreacting and trying to turn my husband against her. And she's not going to allow that to happen. She's been claiming that I only need an excuse to keep her away from her son and her future grandchild. And she's going to make sure that I don't get things to all be my way because I'm just being melodramatic on purpose. And she knows it. Well, I can't say I didn't see that coming, but I'm just happy that I have my husband and my father-in-law and the rest of the family on my side here because I think I really need that kind of support to get things my way. Right now, I'm not going to prioritize anybody else's feelings above my own because honestly, as selfish as it sounds, I think it's about time I started prioritizing myself. I've given my mother-in-law enough chances and she's always been horrible about it, so I think I'm done. Update 4. Hey everyone, it's been a couple of months since my last update and I'm so happy to inform you guys that a few weeks back my daughter was born. It was a wonderful day for all of us and I don't think I've ever been happier. My husband and I have been adjusting to our new life as parents, but we have no complaints. Of course, it's a lot of hard work, but the second we look at our daughter, all the exhaustion just disappears. I'm incredibly happy, and I think the drama has all been sorted out because my husband and his siblings and my father-in-law too, all of them have banded together for me, and they explained to Sarah that she needed to maintain her distance from me because after what she did, I'm not comfortable with her. And if at any point I feel like I'm ready to forgive her, I'll let her know myself, but she needs to stay away from me until then. And if she doesn't do so, nobody from the family will speak to her. And they were pretty serious about it as well, so she agreed to stay away from me. And the last thing that she sent me was an apology through text a couple of weeks back, a few days before my baby was born. For now, though, I'm not thinking about any of that. I'll take things at my own pace because I know that everyone's fine with it and I don't need to rush anything. Until then, everything is about my daughter for me at the moment. And I'm just really happy that I have such a wonderful, supportive family. And I'm not just talking about my own parents and my husband, but I'm also talking about my father-in-law and my husband's siblings. They've been enormously supportive and kind, and I'm really grateful to them for all of it. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.